On paper, Bretonnia versus Khorne seems like a terrible matchup for Bretonnia, and there are definitely some tough things about it, but today we're going to be taking a look at what they can potentially do here. This is actually the second in a series of two battles that I fought versus Heir of Carthage. The first, spoiler alert, was a decisive Bretonnian victory. Heir of Carthage tried to bring like a Herald build with a bunch of halberds, and it pretty much just died to foot squires. I think he took some Minotaurs with great weapons as well, and it died to the exact build that I have brought here, which is LOUEN up on his named hippogriff, of course. Got a line of 4 foot squires, a Damsel Lore of Heavens, because I don't really have that many expensive targets to heal, so instead we're looking for some damage output with Uranus Thunderbolt, Curse the Midnight Wind, and Harmonic Convergence. Some nice buffs and debuffs to help my knights and other units trade well. We've got 3 Knights of the Realm, including the Regiment of Renown Knights of the Lion-Hearted, to have that magical damage versus demonic units. Nice to have, while it's not absolutely critical. Speaking of which, we've also got the Holy Wardens of Lamaisenthal, Regiment of Renown Battle Pilgrims somewhere in here. Yep, here they are. A couple of Yeoman Archers, including the ROR there as well for some poison. So Heir of Carthage's second build here, rather than going for, the Halberds and Minotaurs, he's gone with Scarbrand. So, of course, Bretonnia historically has struggled to take down powerful kind of single entity monsters occasionally, depending on the situation. Scarbrand's definitely of the power level that they will struggle with. Likewise, Bloodletters might seem a little counterintuitive. They are a little bit weaker to shock cavalry charges than the Halberds, but they will clean any Bretonnian infantry, whereas the Halberds actually don't trade very well with foot squires. Also a couple of Skull Crushers. I'm not the biggest fan of this unit in general, but in this matchup, 130 armor, heavy armor piercing, anti-large weapon damage, as I smack my microphone stand there a little bit, and spell resistance as well also helps. Unipsychology, I guess that's probably from the Frenzy, but anyway, yeah, let's get to it. Bretonnia charging in, Knights of the Lion-Hearted, nice frontal charge into some Bloodletters, but now countercharged by the Skull Crushers. Definitely going to be pretty bad there. In the center, LOUEN is going to engage with Scarbrand. I want to try and do as much damage as I can early on before Scarbrand has a chance to slaughter too many units and charge up his weapon strength. Pile in there with some more of the Knights. Foot Squires also coming in. We've got debuffs. First, the Midnight Wind. Sword of Khorne also going to be popped momentarily, but here come more Skull Crushers. Bloodletters cleaving those peasant mobs, no problem. Obviously, no one's surprised there. My own Knights pulling back, as does Heir with his own Skull Crushers. So a nice little kind of cavalry engagement. I'm biding my time with my spears as well, trying to come support in against those Blood Crushers. We've got the Foot Squires. I'm not going to trade great against Bloodletters, definitely. This is not an efficient trade at all for me. I'd much rather them be facing like the Khorne Warriors, but still doing okay, all things considered, with the shock cavalry help on that initial charge. Spears are going to come in, try and reinforce against those Skull Crushers, but they're definitely doing a lot of damage. Here, Holy Wardens and Knights of the Lion-Hearted combining against Blood Crushers is great. Meanwhile, LOUEN's doing his best to try and cycle charge about here. Gets back up in the air, puts a charge into those Skull Crushers, and then we're going to get a little bit of Harmonic Convergence on those Knights of the Realm, up to 56, 52 on attack defense. So even though they don't have the best AP values, they'll still get some pretty good work done. Likewise, the Yeomen have just kind of been sitting on this flank, picking away at these Bloodletters, which cleave through a spear and a mob, no problem. So definitely feeling the pain of the Blood Crushers, though. Definitely wishing I had some Questing Knights or some other, heavier anti-large AP. Maybe some Halberds also would have been nice. But here, I'm in a little bit of a tough situation with Scarbrand. At the same time, as wanting to kill him early so he can't charge up his weapon strength as much, he's also going to just slaughter my entire army the longer I leave him alone. So it's a little bit of a conundrum to be in, to try and figure out when is the right time to engage. But LOUEN thankfully has the ability to heal, so I have some time to maybe take some engagements, pull back, heal up, and then re-engage again. Here we're going to charge out those Bloodletters. Shock cavalry charges, definitely pretty good against the light armor. Physical resistance only helps so much. Even without the Grail tier units, those shock charges and the Archer Fire doing a decent amount. A little bit of poison on those Blood Crushers as well, just to try and keep them honest. But unfortunately for me, a lot of my Foot Squires have been pretty well savaged. Over here, the Holy Wardens fighting valiantly, cut through some Bloodletters, unfortunately get matched up on the Warriors, which is not great for them. Also eat a nasty rear charge here from the Blood Crushers. That is going to deal significant damage to them. Thankfully, their leadership is quite high. They're likely to hold regardless. But here, I'm going to dive back in with LOUEN after having taken a bunch of damage. And honestly, this is going to be a pretty critical mistake. Right now, I could swing out far with LOUEN. This whole time, I'd be riding over here, regenerating. Come help these knights, Lion-Hearted, the mobs, and the Spearmen-at-Arms with the Sword of Khorne debuffing the melee defense and armor of those Skull Crushers. Just help those units trade a little bit more effectively. Maybe swing the Yeoman Archers over there, swing the other healthy knights, relatively healthy Knights of the Realm out over there as well, and just try and kind of combine forces over here. Instead, LOUEN gets enraged. Good skill play, you know, credit to Heir of Carthage here, noticing as LOUEN is flying by, he gets the Rampage, which rampages LOUEN down onto the ground. I see that. Pop Harmonic Convergence to compensate, just so that he can try and, you know, save himself. But this is the point where I could have disengaged probably through the Yeoman here, get up in the air, and pull away from Scarbrand, try and get my forces kind of rally back together, maybe defeat some of these isolated units, because as it is right now, if LOUEN routs, he's going to lose his regeneration and Blessing of the Lady, so he'll lose that physical resistance, the self-healing. Both of these effects will be shut off if he loses leadership, so really bad situation for me if he does rout. And right now, it's all RNG, which is not great, considering Scarbrand has 75 melee attack and like 700 plus weapon strength. So although LOUEN does not die, he does get routed here. Absolute disaster. Although we're able to dish out a ton of damage to Scarbrand, it's not quite enough to finish him off. Now I'm going to have to beat a retreat, and I don't have any way of healing LOUEN. Look at all that healing cap space left, which is why definitely should not have taken that engagement. Obviously, the Enrage kind of dictated that, so not like I could do a lot to avoid it other than to just maybe fly in the other direction and try and path up and around Scarbrand. Definitely something to be aware of. I kind of forgot it existed for half a second, and it ended up costing me pretty heavily. This will be a decent engagement, though. Relatively healthy Knights of the Realm. They have the support of the Holy Wardens. We're going to come in here and do a reasonably decent job taking some HP off those Skull Crushers, maybe felling a few unit models as well. Scarbrand very quickly comes over. He's going to throw his axes down, start to teach Bretonnian Knights a few lessons. Very painful. Just taking all the skulls there. And it should be pretty decent stuff. Pretty decent stuff all around. Yeah, Holy Wardens of Lamaisental getting mostly just bypassed here. LOUEN does come back, but again, without any healing, he's got 9 HP left, so it's not like he can do anything at this point. Honestly, I'm impressed that his leadership rallied, so we'll watch up close as the last of these Bretonnians make their final stand here. Up against the foul hordes of Khorne. Brave damsel trying to desperately use her magic here. Probably, yeah, a little bit of a swing and a miss on that Uranus Thunderbolt. Ooh, I think she just got straight up killed there by Scarbrand. That was absolutely brutal finish. So, good game there of Carthage. It was fun workshopping this matchup with him. Again, I didn't show the very one-sided victory I had initially. This game was a lot closer and a lot more fun, so figured we'd just get straight to the fun action. I do believe, though, he did cast that, so if you're curious, you want to see some foot squires beating up Khorne halberds, definitely go check his video out. For myself, LOUEN, I have to say, did a pretty decent job, although my misplay with him did kind of let him down a little bit. I think, again, had I pulled back and disengaged there, regenerate quite a bit of HP back, because yes, I mean, Scarbrand's going to be building up more weapon strength during that time, but that extra HP would have made a difference. And, you know, maybe defeating one of those Skull Crushers and actually getting them off the field. In the late game, if it's just Scarbrand and the one Skull Crushers against all of my stuff, maybe I can isolate and finish them off. But definitely a good game regardless. Knights of the Realm, very decent performance. As far as my build goes, I mean, I'm fairly happy with it. I might make some tweaks here or there. You know, being that you're very likely to face Scarbrand in this matchup, you can actually take Henri plus Alberic together. Just two very powerful anti-large AP, you know, mobile characters that could potentially combine, although that will lock you into using Lore of Life. You're going to have to heal them. Here, again, the idea is that you don't have to heal anything, really. LOUEN has his own self-healing. Lore of Heavens just offers you some nice buffs, and since Khorne has a lot of spell resistance, I figured the buffs and debuffs just to help your units win fights in surprising ways, especially in ways that Khorne might not expect, is a good way to try and affect this matchup with magic. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. You think even with the build I had, it would have been better to just spam like Awakening of the Wood and Earthblood for damage and healing respectively? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.